All right, we're going to do one where we're talking about average speed, which was in the last video. Now, a car travels uphill at 40 kilometers per hour and then downhill at 60 kilometers per hour. We want to find out its average speed. Now, when you think about this, you go, oh, it's going up a hill. So it goes up this hill and it goes 40 kilometers per hour. It comes down at 60 kilometers per hour. So the average should just be 50. It should be half that, right? That is not the correct answer. Why? Because going uphill, it's going to spend more time going uphill than it does going downhill. So to figure this out, we actually go back to our definition of average speed. And so when we did the speed average, it was equal to the total distance over the total time. So, what I want you to do now is pause the video, go and just try to solve this problem, then come back, watch the rest of the video and see if you solved it the same way that I did. You don't get much out of it if you just watch me solve problems. The key to physics is you have to do it, you have to learn it, you have to figure it out. Okay, so it's good to struggle a little bit, to go try it on your own. Alright, so after you've done it, now I'm going to work on solving. So we don't know the distance, it never tells us what the distance is. So we're just going to arbitrarily assign the distance to like d. We're going to get a new marker. So we're just going to call this distance that it travels d. Oh, that marker is just as good. Alright, distance d for the hill. Boy, blue markers are just failing me right now. So the total distance, so my speed is just going to be the total distance while it goes d up the hill and d down the hill. So the total distance is just going to be d plus d. So it goes a distance of d up, a distance of d back down. Now the total time is the time uphill plus the time going downhill. So how do we figure it out? Well, we know that they're going constant velocity. So if they're going constant velocity, we can use distance is equal to velocity times time. Or we can say that the distance is equal to velocity uphill times the time to go uphill. I'm going to solve that for the time to go uphill, and I'm going to give that as just d over velocity uphill. That's a u. And the same thing for downhill. It's just going to be velocity downhill times time going downhill. Or the time downhill is just the distance over the velocity downhill. Now I have the times. So I'm just going to plug these back into here, and we're going to say, oh, the speed, the average speed, I just got tired of writing average, is equal to 2d, d plus d on the top, and I'm just going to plug this in for the time going up, which is just d over velocity going uphill, plus d over the velocity going downhill. Alright, so now we got to do some simplification here. So the speed is going to be equal to 2d, but on the bottom I have fractions, so I have to add the fractions. Well, I'm just going to put the numbers in to make this a little bit easier. So this is going to be d, the velocity going uphill is 40, so this is d over 40 plus d over 60. Okay, coming over here. So the speed is going to be equal to 2d over d over 40 plus d over 60. And what you have to do is have a common denominator, or 2d over, and the easiest way is going to multiply this by 60 over 60, so I get 60d over 60 times 40 plus 40d over 60 times 40. So I just multiply this by 60 over 60 and this by 40 over 40. Gives me the same denominator, so I'm going to get the speed is equal to, when I simplify this, 2d over 60d plus 40d over 60 times 40, which is 2400. All right, keep simplifying. This is 2d over 100d over 2400. This simplifies because the 100 and the 2400 cancel. So I'm going to, speed is equal to 2d over d over 24. But how do you get rid of a fraction on the bottom? You flip it and multiply, so the speed is equal to 2d over 1 times 24 over d. Notice the distances go away. We don't have to know the distance for the sides of the hill. 2 times 24 is 48 kilometers per hour. And that is our average speed. And our average speed is 48 because it takes longer on the uphill than it does on the downhill side. That is how you do an average speed. Start with the original equation and then work out all the parts.